Hello and welcome back to this series of video tutorials on the features, some of the key features that Moodle offers the course creator or educator. Today we're looking again at the book resource. Just before looking at the practicalities of how to include a book in your Moodle course, I want to first address the reasons why we would bother. Okay, so I'm just going to be really upfront here and state that whilst I am a massive fan of EdTech used appropriately, I would always include that condition: used appropriately. I am not technological determinist. Is that the correct expression? In that I do not think that tech should be dictating the way that education is 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 developed, is perceived. I don't think it should affect educational policies in a primary role. I think the tech in education, the tech and ed tech, is secondary to the ed part, as in pedagogical, theoretical approaches, methodologies, beliefs should always have the upper hand, and tech brought in as absolutely a big gun. It's not a small thing, as a big gun when it can indeed enhance teaching, when it can enhance a learning process, when it can facilitate memorization, when it can facilitate understanding. What I'm not a big fan of, and I'm actually dead against, is gamifying or infotaining, edutaining the life out of learning processes. I make a very clear distinction, in my mind at least, between early childhood education and that which comes afterwards, whereas I can see the benefit of gamifying a lot of what very young children do in their first steps in their own educational journey. I'm not particularly on board with overdoing the gamification or the interactivity of every single element of education when you're at secondary level or in higher education. I think that, especially in higher education, if you're incapable of focusing or engaging with material delivered in the most old-fashioned way, long-form text or a lecture, then my suggestion would be that if you're really never ever capable of doing that, then maybe you're not that interested in the topic at all. Which doesn't mean that I'm suggesting that everything should be made as boring as possible, as some sort of purity test to see how dedicated and intellectual a learner is. But I do think that after a certain point in your educational career, it is not too much to ask that once in a while you engage with a paper, with a publication, with a text, with a book, with a journal article or whatever, without having your if you find you easily distracted, you can't engage with it for more than a couple of minutes, then that is problematic. But I don't think the solution is distracting you even further with non-text materials or non-lecture materials. I think we all need to kind of be wary about the kind of attention span difficulties which too much tech can actually generate in us and in our learners. So in my Moodle course, and everybody's Moodle course, there is a place for something which resembles the traditional printed text. It is found, well, let's just very quickly change role to student just to see what students would be seeing if they logged on to my EFL teaching to L1 Arabic students, and they came across the book, which it seems to be a book, but in truth it's more place marking and padding than anything else. But the temporary title is called The Arab World. There's a bit of an introduction here, and I click on the title and it opens up, and I see, and very nicely here on the right hand side, there's a table of contents which I can navigate around, and there is my first chapter, and I get to the next chapter, chapter 2, Food Around the Arab World, by clicking on the next button, and there's a lovely picture and more text, and then I click on the next button again, and so on and so forth. So how did I do this magic? Well, I already covered this in a previous video, but I'm very, very, very quickly going to show you just how, just remind you how that is done. I need to go back to my usual role. So I've gone into edit mode, and I click the edit hamburger icon, and there's my title, there's my the little descriptive introduction. If I click save and display, I then see the internal part of it, the various chapters. I need to add a new chapter. All I do is go to the last one that I made and click the plus sign. And there we go. I have the possibility of a new chapter title and a new chapter text here. I'm not even going to bother doing that. I'm going as quick as I can. I'm just going to show you really quickly, just a super quick reminder on how we got the book there in the first place. I go down to the bottom of my section and I go to add an activity or resource, and there, bless it, is the book resource. I click on that, and that is what gets me that resource in my Moodle course. So all the best. Happy working, happy Moodle creating to you all. Speak soon.